It's 27 months since the assassination of former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri. Can an international tribunal find those behind his killing? Is a tribunal the best way to bring justice? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm David Foster. The assassination of former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri has become more than just an issue for Lebanon. The United Nations Security Council now working on plans for an international tribunal. But why does the Hariri murder warrant an international tribunal when killings such as those of, say, Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi did not? And what implications will any international trial have for regional security? Mr. Hariri twice served as Prime Minister of Lebanon. It was 5 months after he left political office that he was targeted by assassins. A huge truck bomb was detonated as his car travelled through the heart of Beirut, killing him and 22 others. Much of the blame was levelled at Syria. The outpouring of grief and anger that followed led to the withdrawal of thousands of Syrian forces from Lebanon. The UN inquiry has also found signs of Syrian involvement. Syria denies this. A tribunal has the backing of the United States, France, and several other nations on the UN Security Council. Concerns have been raised by Russia, China, and South Africa. And some of those concerns, the big sticking point, in fact, for many countries, is what's called Chapter 7. Now, this grants the Security Council the power to act when there are threats to peace or acts of aggression. With decisions binding on all member states, the Security Council may authorise the use of force to maintain or restore international peace and security. This formed the basis for UN action in Korea in 1950 during the Korean War, and again in 1991 after the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. Chapter 7 means the Council can impose economic sanctions, including the freezing of state assets and barring trade. Yugoslavia faced this during the wars in the 1990s. It can also enforce a blockade on communications and bar transport, postal and radio links with the outside world. This preceded military force against Iraq in 1991. Now let's take this all a stage further. With us from Lebanon to discuss the tribunal we have from downtown Beirut, Dr. Hilal Kashan, a professor of political science at the American University there, and in our Beirut studios, former Interior Minister of Lebanon, Bichara Merhij. Mr. Merhij, if I could start with you first of all, but I'm going to put the same question to both of you. No matter what you think about who was responsible for Rafiq Hariri's assassination, can a tribunal work?
This is what we hope. We think such a tribunal is responsible to point for us who assassinated our former Prime Minister, Mr. Hariri. This is very crucial to us. This is very important to the Lebanese people because Lebanese people want to know the truth. They want justice done, and they want peace and tranquility and stability in their country. And the great majority of the Lebanese think that all these objectives can be reached once the International Tribunal can uncover the facts and the investigation brought to it by the International Commission.
Will an international tribunal work, perhaps, where an own Lebanese investigation and trial would not have been able to?
Excuse me, please, can you repeat the question?
Will an international tribunal work where a Lebanese inquiry and trial would not have been able to?
Well, Lebanese inquiries were unable to uncover the facts. Lebanese investigation was insufficient, and it proved that it cannot, till now, detect who is behind the crimes that were committed against Lebanese prominent figures and against Lebanese people. Till now, Lebanese people are waiting from the security authorities in Lebanon to name or to uncover some facts. Until now, days go, and we are still in disarray. We don't know who committed all these crimes, and Lebanese people are divided in posing accusations here and there, and this is one cause for political disorder and political troubles in Lebanon. We need an international tribunal, yes, but it depends what kind of tribunal. If it is issued under Chapter 7, this would pose problems for the Lebanon and the Lebanese, because it's not important as such, the tribunal. What is important about the tribunal, how it will work in the future, what kind of mechanism it will follow, who are the constitutional institutions in Lebanon it has to address, with whom it shall work in the future. They need Lebanese constitutional institutions to be in order.
Dr.
And
Kashan,
this needs Lebanese unity behind them.
can I bring in Dr. Kashan at this point? Same question to you. Do you think a tribunal can do the job properly?
Well, if it cannot work, then nothing else will work. I do believe that the tribunal will get to the bottom of the matter and will eventually find out who committed the heinous act of assassinating former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri. Yes, it will work. I mean, it took so much effort and determination to get it through the Security Council. If we have gone so far, then I believe it will get to the end of it.
Does it need this Chapter 7 power, which allows it to use force to impose certain restrictions on certain people?
What about, you mean chapters? Yeah, I believe Chapter 7 is important. Otherwise, you will not be able to ensure the cooperation of the various parties. You know, I mean, people in this part of the world have a tendency to be recalcitrant, and the best way to ensure their collaboration is to threaten them with the use of force. Yes, absolutely.
And in terms of the international perspective on this, the same question I put to the former Minister of the Interior was, is it going to be easier for an international tribunal to get to the bottom of the issue than it would have been for Lebanese authorities themselves without this?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, absolutely. You know, the Lebanese legal system, just like other institutions of the Lebanese Republic, is soft. And the Lebanese judiciary is known for having a very low subsystem autonomy, which means that it is interactive. And the way our legal system operates leaves a whole lot to be desired. And left to their own means, internal factors and our penchant for accommodation and compromise will eventually affect the workings of a Lebanese tribunal. Therefore, the only recourse for us is to have an international one.
Mr. Merhij, as a former Interior Minister, you might be interested you might have been interested to follow the discussions of those countries which have said they're against the issue of Chapter 7, the use of force if necessary. One of the points made is that they don't believe the majority of the Lebanese people are behind such an idea. What's your view on that?
I think they are right. The Lebanese people are divided. Some of them want the tribunal to be under Chapter 7. Others don't want this. And this poses a real problem for the International Tribunal in the future. And the best situation for going on in this process is to have legal institutions in Lebanon and to deal with them properly. You need the presidency to be active and legal. You need the parliament. You need the Council of Ministers. Now they are ignoring the parliament. They are ignoring the presidency. Even the Council of Ministers is not fully complete, and it's not recognized by maybe half of the Lebanese. How it will work in the future? This is a problem to be. You have to think about it. You have to dwell on it. And we would have needed another approach so that the tribunal can work properly and smoothly in the future, and all the Lebanese objectives to be addressed.
Okay, both of you mentioned the political impasse that there's been for some months now, particularly since the assassination of Pierre Jamal back in November of last year. It is, as we say, the Hariri murder, February the 14th, 2005, the core of this acute political difficulty that's paralysed the country for so long. The government does exist in Lebanon, but the Syrian-aligned opposition walked out 5 months ago, sparking mass protests, and as a result, Parliament's refusing to meet. If it doesn't meet, Parliament can't agree to the International Tribunal as it's supposed to, and the political crisis, yes, it's set to worsen because in September a new president must be chosen. That's the job of the Parliament, but of course if Parliament's still refusing to meet, there can be no new leader and even less chance of an agreement on the tribunal, hence the need, some have said, for what's going on at the United Nations. Let's go back to our two guests, Dr. Hilal Khashan from the American University and former Minister of the Interior in Lebanon, Bishara Merhij. Professor, if I could ask you first of all, do you think there is a danger in an already fragile society that such a tribunal will create more divisions?
Oh, no, I don't believe so. You know, I mean, the Lebanese opposition, including Hezbollah, have nothing to do with the assassination of Rafiq Hariri. You know, I mean, the main source of suspicion is known to be regional, specifically Syria. You know, Hezbollah has a tactical alliance with Syria, and they need to accommodate Syria since they represent their conduit, their lifeline. So Hezbollah has done all it can in order to abort the tribunal, or at least to stall it. But they could not. The fact that the tribunal is no longer a domestic issue, and the fact that it has come to the attention of the Security Council, means that Hezbollah is relieved. They don't have to say, they don't have to push for it anymore. They can tell their Syrian allies that we have done all we could, and now it is a matter of international concern, and that's it. We did our duty. So in a way, I think it will ease up the tension in Lebanon, not get things out of control.
Well, let me put the same point to Mr. Merhij. I mean, tribunals such as this, they can last for years. It's not going to be a great time for healing of wounds, is it?
I think what's important is what follows, taking such a very important decision in the Security Council. How the tribunal will work, with whom it will cooperate, what will be the mandate, how the financing will take place. They need the government, they need the parliament, they need the president. We need all the constitutional institutions in Lebanon to be operative and to be legitimate and to be recognized by the people of Lebanon. Now we have a very problematic situation in Lebanon. It's very sensitive and very fragile, and maybe we need international initiatives and regional initiatives to help us reconciliate, help us reach a detente, internal detente in Lebanon, so that we can retain back our institutions, so that we can address the International Tribunal in a proper way. This is not the case now. That's why I think we should think very deeply when we address such a problem.
All right, for now, thank you very much indeed. It is yet another tribunal, as we've pointed out. The world has been there before. And when we return, we'll be taking a closer look at other international tribunals. Yugoslavia, Rwanda. That's when we return on Inside Story.